Hello and welcome to Northern Ireland's first ever ethnic minority business podcast. I am your host Ruchira Rangaprasad, and this podcast has been brought to you by EMEEN. EMEEN is the largest national network of ethnic minority professionals from all across Northern Ireland that promotes entrepreneurship and employment. This podcast has been proudly sponsored by the British Business Bank and powered by Inclusive Entrepreneurship NI. Our sponsor, British Business Bank, is a government-owned economic development bank. Set up 10 years ago in 2014, its core mission is to drive sustainable growth and prosperity across UK to help transition to a net zero economy by improving access to finance for smaller businesses. This strive to break down barriers and help unlock potential, ensuring that people in smaller businesses have the same access to finance, no matter who they are or where in the UK they may be. We are delighted to have British Business Bank's Senior Manager for Northern Ireland, Susan McCain, from the bank's UK network team to tell us a bit more.
At British Business Bank, we really want to help unlock the potential, and we work every day to help both increase awareness and understanding around accessing finance, but also to ensure that smaller businesses are able to access that finance no matter who they are or wherever they are in the UK. So people and communities are at the centre of our work on diversity and inclusion, and through our funds, our programmes and initiatives like the podcast and events, we want to help break down those barriers and ensure that talented entrepreneurs have access to finance regardless of their geography, their social background, gender, ethnicity, disability or age. So backgrounds, businesses and journeys may differ, but there are similarities in the themes that are coming through in the podcast, from understanding the finance types out there, building that confidence to take that next step, how impactful building connections can be, and having those early conversations, and of course having that resilience. So it's a real heartfelt thanks to our amazing entrepreneurs for sharing their entrepreneurial journeys and their experiences of accessing finance to start up and grow their business here in Northern Ireland. I'm forever in awe of the entrepreneurial talent we have here in Northern Ireland. I know they will all be an inspiration to so many others on their entrepreneurial journeys, and they also inspire me to continue helping to break down those barriers. So whether I'm devising an event or developing a new initiative, they're always built on the foundation of diversity and inclusivity.
Today with us, we have a very special guest on our Ethnic Minority Business podcast. She is someone who could light up a room instantly. I could listen to her for hours. She's an amazing person to speak to. Welcome, Olanike Adebayo.
Oh, thank you very much, Ruchira.
I'm so happy to get started on this conversation with you.
I am too.
Yeah, well, I know a little bit about you. I know that, you've found Adexa Labz, but,
Yes.
I would love to hear it from you. What has the journey been like? Tell us about yourself. Tell us about Adexa Labz.
Okay, my name is Olanike Adebayo, commonly called Nike for short. I'm a biomedical scientist with a lot of experience. I've got almost 20 years experience as a biomedical scientist, going up to managing a lab as part of my career in the NHS and the private industry. So I did that for like 18 years. I started my training in Cambridge, and then from there I moved to Manchester briefly, and later I moved to Imperial College NHS Trust in London. And from there, I started working as a locum across the country, within the UK, outside the UK, the overseas territories. And there was something that struck me in my journey. And when I started my journey early in the career, I'd gotten a few awards. At South Manchester, I got the best professional portfolio. When I was in London, I got the best professional portfolio as a specialist scientist. But it was when I started working as a locum, working in Gibraltar, working in Ireland, in Scotland, and all over the places, that I found consistent problems within healthcare, especially within laboratory science. And in 2015, I believe, I was working in Tunbridge Wells hospitals in Kent at the time, and there was a competition for bringing out innovative ideas that could transform healthcare. And it was mainly for doctors at the time, but I did ask to participate and it was well accepted. So I put in my application, and it was an idea to transform pathology, especially as it relates to all other areas of clinical medicine. And my award got the best for clinical pathology and innovation in pathology. So I knew that we were onto something. But at the time, I didn't really believe that I knew something good could come out of it, but I didn't know how big and how great that was going to be. So the NHS was going to develop the idea, but unfortunately, for some reasons, internal reasons, that wasn't developed. So I took the intellectual property and decided to develop it. So I contacted some patent attorneys and shared the idea with them and said, we need to change a few things in pathology and revolutionize how things are done and the communication between pathology and doctors and nurses on the wards and in clinics. And that was a starting point for Adexa. And it's called Adexa Labz, and it was registered in the UK some years ago. The journey started with intellectual property protection, getting a trademark, first of all, for one of the main products called LabMate, and then moving on to the patent of some of the ideas itself. So we've come a long way since 2015, and by 2017 was when I started that journey, developed the prototype, and of course, by 2019, we were thinking of moving things forward. Then the pandemic hit, which meant things went to a very low state. I was still working in labs during the pandemic, helping to save lives, diagnosing, but I still knew the problem persisted. And one of the key problems that Adexa wants to solve is the issue of communication of urgent and critical results from laboratory professionals to medical professionals, for them to know the urgency, to take actions immediately and start the diagnostic process and treatment. At the moment, it's got to be an hour between the results being generated and the wards getting the result. But unfortunately, at times we realize that that lingers for a bit longer than an hour, meaning the treatment starts a bit longer and there could be a few complications or at times fatalities. So that is one of the core issues that Adexa Labz is dealing with, being able to communicate problems from the lab's perspective and the lab relationship to the wards so that they can take adequate action immediately and start the patient treatment. And we hope and we're looking forward to saving many lives in the process. Secondly, we'll reduce the stress that is on lab professionals and doctors and nurses at the moment. At the moment, if results are not communicated in real time, in good time, what happens is it results into DATIX incident reports, meaning that it could be a near miss or a fatality. And when that happens, as you and I may be aware of, there'll be litigation issues and the hospital will be meant to pay.
Absolutely.
So millions, and I think over £2 billion every year goes to litigation payouts from NHS hospitals across the whole of the UK, and that's just the UK. So think about other countries in the EU and other parts of the world, litigation coming from either wrong diagnosis, late diagnosis, and late communication of these sepsis. I'm sure many of us are aware of sepsis issues.
Yeah.
A lot of sepsis issues that actually develop is because the diagnosis doesn't come on time and the treatment does not commence on time. And when that happens, it can lead to amputation of limbs. It could lead to developed infectious diseases,
Very
such
dire
that
consequences.
and people could die of consequences. So this is what Adexa Labz is set to do, to ensure that the results are generated and in real time communicated and diagnosis and treatment commence as quickly as possible. There are other things that we're dealing with as well in terms of quality control processes. There is no laboratory that can run without quality control processes being in place and external quality assurance schemes being in place. And what we find out is laboratories are very busy. Lab professionals are under a lot of pressure. An average lab processes between 2,000 to 3,000 samples a day. And that is huge. You know, the demand is huge, the pressure is high. Being able to run external quality control substances that are sent from external laboratories and reporting in time is a challenge as well in the midst of all these busy schedules that we have in laboratories. So Adexa Labz is set to help in managing that process as well and communicating the external quality control processes that we've run in our basic labs into those places to ensure that we're accorded the right standard and we're in tune with international standards as far as quality management, quality control is concerned. So there's a wide scope for what Adexa is doing. And finally, another part of Adexa is incorporating AI and machine learning. In the world we're living in today and moving forward in the next 10, 20 years, AI and machine learning are going to be an integral part of our lives.
Absolutely.
How better is it for us to get integrated into our healthcare system, into our pathology, into diagnostic processes right now in such a way that we're complementing what healthcare professionals are doing rather than competing with them. The AI we're bringing and machine learning is to help in diagnosis of a lot of conditions and a lot of analytes that have been measured when it's high, when it's low. We measure and then we collaborate that result with the medical history of the patient, the medical condition, the age, the gender, their race, their ethnicity. All these factors actually play a major role in the right diagnosis being picked. And the right results being communicated to doctors. Now the average doctor average GP spends around 10 minutes on every blood test result that comes back. So if a GP sends out 100 tests in a day, then it needs 10 minutes with 100. That's like 1,000 minutes every day. So our artificial intelligence and machine learning isn't to compete, but to complement what doctors are doing. In giving interpretation, scientific interpretation, so the lab scientist doesn't need to write a lot of the interpretation, but artificial intelligence gathers all the information, gives the right diagnosis and clarification and interpretation, and passes it on to the medical professional. And the doctor who is in charge, or nurse practitioner, who is interpreting the result, gets all the information, what it could be, what could potentially develop from that, and then they validate it and sign off and say, yes, that's correct. Or if they don't want that, they can remove some of the things. But artificial intelligence is going to help them in doing their jobs better, faster, and with more clarity, so that the patient gets the result and there's a lot more clarity about blood test result. And the final thing it would do is suggesting other tests they might need to run in collaboration with the tests they've already run. In such a way, we're having a robust and very holistic process in investigative medicine and diagnosis.
Wow, Nikki, I actually didn't even know that there was such a big angle to NHS as well. Like, I think we always overlook what happens behind the scenes, especially with communication, right? Like, I didn't even know that there were so many intricacies within communication, and that's amazing that you're even able to fit in AI and machine learning into this, because I think that's like the need of tomorrow to, like you said, not compete with AI, rather use it to help you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's obviously been amazing to hear like your professional work and professional journey, but what is the personal angle behind Adexa Labz? Like, what made you start Adexa Labz? Like, what was that moment that happened to you that made you go, now Adexa Labz needs to start?
Okay. I'm very entrepreneurial. I'm the kind of person that loves to think outside the box. Even in my day-to-day work, I'm always thinking of processes. How can we simplify processes? How can we reduce time? And then the stress I was experiencing sitting on the urgent bench, there's somewhere we call an urgent bench in the laboratory where you are the first port of call and contact to the outside world. A lot of people don't know what laboratory professionals do. So I'm the right person by speaking the phone, speaking to doctors, speaking to nurses, speaking to administrators, and telling them, they're asking me questions, what does this result mean? We just got this report back, what does it mean? And can we add on this test? Can we further ask this question? And I realized I was spending like 5 hours or 6 hours out of my 8-hour day on just answering questions on the phone. And I got to a point, I am not a customer service representative. I am not a telephone handler. I am a specialist scientist. And I'd rather sit in the lab, running the tests, producing the accurate results that would help the medical professionals in diagnosing and treating. But here I am, spending 6 hours speaking on the phone, and I don't really enjoy that. So that was a turning moment for me, and I said, Adexa Labz needs to come to life. The second moment that propelled me into this was when I go to my GP. I love having my blood test done maybe at least annually or semi-annually. So I go, run my tests, get the result, and I call back and say, how were the tests I ran the other day? And they say, everything was fine. And I would be like, what does fine mean? Can I have the personal results? I would love to. And they'll say, you've got to come in and we'll print you a list of the results, or we'll send it via in the post to you. So I get all my blood test results on paper. And every time I'm having all this paper, I'm collating it together at home. I'm a medical professional, so I can read through and understand some of it, but I want to ask questions. And when I get the results back, I have to phone the GP or book another appointment to go in to get answers to my questions. So I am taking some time out of my work, out of my schedule. The GP is having to take some time out. I'm getting the results on paper rather than electronically, where I can see it at a glance and get some interpretative results or messages, but it's a laborious process. So that was another turning point for me, and I said Adexa needs to come to life, because we can actually get results in an automated fashion, real time, with the doctor's report or the doctor's comment, and AI generated as well, that aids the doctor, and the doctor just needs to validate and approve it and let it go out to the patient. So the patient reads it, understands it. Me as a patient right now, or an other patient, I read it, I understand it, I know I need to come back in 3 months, 6 months, or whenever, and that facilitates the whole process, saves time, saves resources, saves a lot of headache as well. So that was another turning point for me in the journey.
That's amazing, because when I get a blood test and my doctor says it's fine, I just assume it's fine and don't even look at it, because I can't even interpret it myself. I think, I definitely see the dire need. I think I might be definitely a big adopter for this as well, because I want to know what's on my results.
Absolutely.
But I'm sure that the journey was not easy for you at all, even in the beginning, because one of the biggest challenges that we constantly hear from entrepreneurs is finance.
Absolutely.
Like financing your business, especially at such an early stage. I'm assuming that you probably bootstrapped or, relied heavily on personal savings. What was that journey like? And, how did you take that decision of bootstrapping or using your personal savings? And just what did that whole journey look like?
Right. I've got to say that for a startup, an entrepreneur, the first thing everybody wants to see and wants to hear is that you've got a skin in the game. So to have a skin in the game, you've got to put your money where your mouth is. And I am saying this idea is great. This is something that will change the lives of people. It will change the world. It will change the way we relate to medical knowledge and medical investigative results. And COVID did a fantastic job in bringing laboratory science to life. Everybody started to know what we do. They started to realize we exist and we're an integral and important part of the journey to you getting your diagnosis and treatment. So I appreciate one of the big things that COVID threw up in that sense. So the journey started with me talking to a lot of people, and they're saying, that sounds great, but let's see a proof of it. Let's see something. So I started saving up all my savings from my salary, from my work. I'm putting it in. I got a trademark first, and then I started speaking to intellectual property lawyers, gave them money. Can you put in a patent application for me? And they did that. And the next thing was for me to get a prototype, because everybody, it's not just talking. They want to see the figures. They want to see the image. They say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I developed the prototype, and I went to events across Europe. Web Summit was one of the first ones I went to, showcased the prototype to different investors and different other professionals. They validated it and thought, this is great. And that gave me a measure of confidence to come back and say, I'm working on something beautiful. So I started the journey in that way, talking to a lot of people about the prototype, showcasing the prototype. And then I go into an accelerator program with Raise Ventures here in Belfast. And they thought it was fantastic and great as well. And they said, we will love to be one of your investors, but it was more sweat capital investment, advisory, mentorship, information, signal posting. You can go here, you can go there, giving me opportunities to pitch, and a lot of other things that came along the way, and then giving me the platform to say, you've got to move to the next level, which is the MVP. And so my co-founder and myself, who is another scientist, a lab manager, who had worked for like 25 years, we came together and said, we need to develop our MVP. But the MVP cost is quite massive. So we thought, where are we going to get started from? We had to have a discovery phase to be sure that what we're talking about is real. We need to carry out surveys and a lot of questionnaires and research that can actually prove what we're saying. It's not enough for us to say. So we started interviewing doctors and GPs. We interviewed around 200 of them on the phone as part of our work in the lab, Would you love something that would help you in communicating better the results and you wanting to ask us questions and getting the automated results and reports back to you? And 98% of them were, yes, we would love that. Instead of sitting on the phone line is clogged, you're not picking the phone at times, we don't have time to pick the phone at times. You know, all the communication clogs that happen, and we got that. And later on, we got an independent researcher who came on board with us as an intern, who carried out research as well. So this is outside of us, an independent, and 95% of the medical professionals, GP doctors, laboratory professionals, pharmacists, radiographers, came back and said, yes, we would love a tool like this. So we validated the idea very much. And then we're going to the discovery phase. What kind of tool do we need to develop? What kind of technology do we need to adopt? What kind of platform are we thinking of building? And all of these have come from bootstrapping. So we've had to put our own finances in place so far. But of course, we're looking forward to getting financial support, financial help. We made applications and...
This is a great segue to what I want to know next, because, you know, obviously the journey of personal finance is very difficult because you're, you know, constantly relying on your savings and it's not easy. And, you know, even you touched upon a little bit about how now you want to start looking at external finance.
Absolutely.
So I would love to know more about that. Like, you know, when did you realize that, okay, now I really need to start looking for external finance? I've got something that I know people will, you know, fund me for. What did that look like, you know, like just navigating external finance? Did it just, you know, did somebody tell you that, okay, now start looking for external finance, or did it come to you directly, or did your partners like Raise Ventures, etc., help you navigate through external finance?
A mix of both, Ruchira. At a point, I knew that it wasn't sustainable to keep using my personal finance and my co-founder's personal finance because we have a lot of other personal responsibilities as well. And we know that this is an idea that is great, an idea that is well validated by external sources. We've got over 400 medical professionals saying they need this, and a lovely pool of professionals, and we couldn't just afford it any further. And then Raise Ventures coming into the picture and giving a lot of advice, and the people they had worked with in the past that have gotten finance and support, they put us at the end of last year, October last year, there was a masquerade event in Belfast, and it was during Halloween, and they got a lot of external investors from all over the UK. And they came to that event, and I pitched, and there were a few investors that were interested. However, they wanted us to have an MVP that shows traction and shows real life commitment from healthcare professionals and organizations that will be willing to pay and buy the product. It's not enough for people to say they will use the product. It's got to be them putting their money in the product. And that's what a business really is. So at the moment, we're building our MVP. And this brings us to events that we've attended with EMEEN. EMEEN has organized an event with the British Business Bank, Access to Finance program that held in Belfast last year. There was another one earlier the year in Stormont with the Access to Finance as well for ethnic minority business owners. And being there was great, and hearing the amount of opportunities that are available. So I connected with some of the people there, the head of the British Business Bank here, who connected me to Enterprise NI and said, actually, you can get some finance and some funding from us. So right now, they've gotten in touch with me, they've given me information, they're giving support on applying, and we're in the process of making the application. We're almost through with the application so that we can get some funding to run what we're doing, and at the end of the day, be able to run our trials, because we need to run trials across different laboratories and hospitals to test the minimum viable products that we're developing. So that's on one hand. On the second hand, Invest NI, whom I had been registered with, has been very helpful as well in terms of support and signal posting as well. And they were part of people that said to go to Enterprise and NI as well for funding. Secondly, there is a program from Innovate UK, which we have applied for. It's given up to £50,000 support to life and healthcare science startups in Northern Ireland. So we've applied for that, and we're very hopeful that we will get that funding because it will make a massive difference to our lives in terms of building the MVP. You know, we have like 6 phases of building the MVP. We'll probably build like 1 phase because that's the one we could afford. We've built the discovery phase and we've built the first phase. So we've got like 4 or 5 more phases to go. And that finance would really escalate and accelerate things for us to the next level. And then we can try it out. And as I said, the Raise Ventures event, from some of the investors, they're waiting for the MVP to be and for us to trial it out and to get feedback on letter-headed paper from companies, laboratories, organizations, GPs, and then they're willing to commit to further finance. So at the moment, bootstrapping, British Business Bank, Enterprise NI, which we're very hopeful about as well. And thirdly, the Innovate UK NI program, which we've applied to, and we're hopeful to apply to others. We'd applied in the past to some other grant event funding. Unfortunately, didn't get one or two, but now we're in a better place. We're building, we're not relenting, and we're forward-looking as well. We're very enthusiastic and very positive about the future and what that will look like in terms of finance.
I think that's a great lesson to learn here, that you got to focus on the grants you get. You got to focus on what is in your hand. Yeah, there might have been some grants that you didn't get, but the grants that you are getting is really helping you grow and especially build your MVP, your minimum viable product. And that's what I want to ask about, is that yes, you have all these grant options, funding options, but how did you know that, okay, this is the finance option that I need to go for that will help my MVP this way? Or like, how did you make that choice of, this is what I should be looking at, this is what I shouldn't be looking at? Like, did you have that leeway of hand-picking your grants? Were you nitpicky about where you got your finance from?
Oh, interesting question you asked there, Ruchira. I've got to break it down a bit. There are many opportunities out there, but unfortunately, for life sciences, and especially a product that deals with human lives, you've got to trial and test out, and we need to be sure that it's safe for consumption of the public and the healthcare sector. Unfortunately, because that's a long journey and that's a massive thing, many organizations are not willing to invest into that. Because what is going to happen, we can't say for certain this is going to be the outcome. We're positive based on the research we've carried out, but not many organizations that are funding are willing to invest in that lengthy process. They want, this is the product, this is how we're going to sell, and that's it. But unfortunately, we are not in that place. So that could pose as an impediment. But beautifully enough, the Innovate UK NI investment that they've put out and we have applied for is specific to our industry. It's very clear, these are the kind of, we want to know there's an innovative product that will come into the UK market that will help the NHS, that will help the healthcare sector and health and social care. So that's brilliant, and that's what we've applied for. The Enterprise NI funding as well wants to see that there is a product that is scalable and is marketable into the market, and it will be helpful to people. That's another one. There are many other grants that don't specifically focus on that, and that kind of excludes us. But as I said, there are many others in the UK and EU that we're finding out about as well. And beautifully enough, some of the EU fundings I just discovered, because it's about discovery, that even in the UK and in Northern Ireland, we can apply to those. One of the people just messaged me last week and said, even though there's an EU funding, you can actually apply because you are in the UK, which is brilliant. There's another funding platform in mainland UK that we've just been notified about in the past week that we've been told to fill the form in and apply for as well. I think COVID did a thing about healthcare. People are now more interested in investing into health startups, much more, and digital health startups as well, because they saw what COVID did. We're all grounded. Our lives just became digital. We were doing meetings online, we were living online, we were doing grocery online, something we couldn't even envisage 5 years ago. We couldn't envisage 80%, 90% of our lives could be online and we wouldn't die, So COVID kind of opened up a vista, which is advantageous to people like me and to our business and to Adexa Labz and the team. So we're very excited about that, and we're excited for the future of what healthcare could be like. We had diagnoses online, we had doctor's appointments online, we had drugs delivered to us online, we had prescriptions made online, we had tests done online.
Our lives are online.
Our lives are online, and our lives are going online. And it's a beautiful thing. Of course, we still have a social life of going physical, but there is nothing as beautiful as having the comfort of doing things as much as possible online. And this is what Adexa Labz is bringing into the market, into the future.
That's amazing, that you're adopting to online so quickly, because all I hear, especially, even from my mom, is that don't do things online, don't go online so much. But we really need to look at the bright side of it as well, that it is getting more convenient, and, we should start embracing that. And, it's very smart that Adexa Lab has gotten on that bandwagon and really taken that up too. But, one thing that I want to ask is, obviously the journey hasn't been easy, and obviously, you've had to go in front of different kinds of investors, different kinds of people even, to pitch your products, to pitch your MVP, to pitch Adexa Labz. What has that process looked like? And, did you face any challenges, when you did go in front of investors? And even what kind of preparation goes behind the scenes? Because, people make it look so easy. Yeah, you go to an investor and you ask for funding. No, there is so much that goes behind. Can you tell us what goes behind?
Sure. Talking about online migration, because we're migrating online, and that is a brilliant thing. However, I share some of the sentiments someone like your mom could have, and it's the issue of safety. You want to be sure, because with digital processes and digital products, they are susceptible to hacking, they're susceptible to stealing, as much as we are in the physical, or burglars or thieves coming around. So the first thing to ensure is that there is safety. There's absolute safety, and this is what we're building with Adexa Labz. Is cloud-based. We're building an Amazon cloud-based system that is not penetrable to hackers, to online thieves, or to cyber attacks. And that is very important, especially when it comes to people's privacy, people's private health records and health diagnosis. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention. We're building something that isn't going to be easily and wouldn't be accessible to the online hackers and thieves and just any random person, just to say that for a start. And secondly, on the pitching and going to investors, there would always be the imposter syndrome. The times I self-doubt, the times I ask questions, is anybody going to see what I'm seeing? I'm passionate about this. I see this as the future. I had seen it as far back as 2015, 2016. But it was after COVID that many people joined the bandwagon and started running with it and said, yes, there is a possibility. Yes, I can get my blood test on my phone. I can carry it around wherever I want to go. And that is the heart behind Adexa. We want you to be in Spain on holiday, and maybe you have an accident or you need to go into the health clinic, and have all your health checks and your diagnosis results on your phone. You can show the new doctor. You can be in Dubai, you can be in Thailand, you can be in Nicaragua, and show them, I did my blood test 6 months ago, 3 months ago, and these are the records, and it helps them in treating you. So that is so important, but everybody started seeing it after COVID, because they started seeing how well they could manage their own health issues online. So the imposter syndrome is always there, but after COVID, people started catching up with it, people started running with it. And many other people started encouraging. As I said, the Race Ventures team, awesome people, fantastic set of people, very positive, very energetic. Infusing that into me changed the dynamics for me. It changed the traction of how I was going. Having 6-8 people cheering you on and saying, Nika, yes, you can do it. Go for it. We're behind you. If you need any help, just look behind. And then we have the CEOs forum that Race Ventures started. So every month we meet up with other CEOs of startup companies and discuss our challenges. We bounce ideas off each other. We talk about the challenges, about the wins that we get, the little wins that might seem insignificant but are integral to the journey and helpful to go from one stage to another. Outside that, you might have people talking about level 10 of their achievement, but here we're talking about level 2, level 2.5, level 3, level 4, level 5. That has helped a lot as well. And another encouraging thing, apart from the pitch events that we've had pitch events with Raise, some of their people, investors coming from outside, and then the masquerade event. And beautifully, there was another event by Awaken Hubs in Northern Ireland. That was held in May in a very beautiful, serene, and calming environment called Lustibeg. I say it's one of the hidden treasures of Northern Ireland. It's an island on an island.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a beautiful island. You have to get on the boat to get there. But when you get there, tranquility, serendipity, and calmness all the way. So it was a beautiful event to meet other female founders and startup owners and venture capitalists and private investors, angel investors. So I attended that. I was handpicked and invited to that. I didn't have to pay. Beautifully enough, they had seen a few of the things we've done in Adexa. I was excited about that. And just being in a place for 2 days with people from all over the world, people coming from the US, from Canada, from Ireland, from England, from Scotland, from here in Northern Ireland. It was magical. It was like heaven and earth for those 2 days. And being immersed in that space of positivity, of encouragement, of beautiful testimonials, of stories, of people who had done this kind of thing before, corporate magnates, corporate leaders, women who would traverse different spheres, who have traveled from one part of the world to another, who are winning, who had lost in the past, who had told you, I failed in this area, and then I got up with encouragement and I moved to this next. It was exhilarating.
Wow.
It blew my mind away. So that's part of the journey, and it infused a lot of confidence. And it told me I was in the right path. I'm making beautiful connections there. I've made lovely friends and connections from there, and it's just another, a step in the journey, as I said.
Nikki, I'm going to start manifesting for something like this now, for a
Very much
holiday
needed.
plus an accelerator. That is the dream come true.
It was.
Yeah,
It was.
but when we talk about like these accelerator programs, even Awaken Hub that's sponsored by British Business Bank, you also mentioned, you've been to other accelerator programs and things like that. What is the kind of impact that these programs have had on Adexa Labz? Like, even from Awaken Hub, were you able to sort of get some secret sauce to help Adexa Lab grow more? Have these accelerator programs pushed you in the right direction, helped you grow higher?
Absolutely. I think one of the first things they do is to infuse self-confidence into you and to validate your ideas and validate you as a person, because it's what you have in you that you can give. You can't give what you don't have. So what you have in you, you validate it and you're sure, yes, this is great, this is fantastic, this is going to, change the world. And you need that in the world of negativity, in a world where there's a lot of self-doubt, where there's a lot of pull him down, pull her down syndrome. Having people like that in your corner is phenomenal. It just changes everything. It changes your perspective. For me, it's staying the course. One of the things it does is I'm on the journey already, I'm on the pathway, but I am staying the course and I'm running ahead because I can see other people running ahead of me. They've done it. And hearing stories of I raised $50 million, I raised $100 million, I raised $2 million, I raised 200,000, our products are in 5 countries, our products are in 2 organizations, it just tells you it's possible and it can be done. And if others have done it, I can get it done as well. For me, that was one of the takeaways. The second thing is to learn how to just relax and chill. When you're a high achiever or you want to be a high achiever, you must have a lot of fun in your life as well, or else you might actually get lost in the maze. And for me, this kind of organizations, this kind of meetings do that for me. We were taught a lot of things, given welfare classes, well-being, how to eat well, sleep well, play well, exercise well, chill. We had a barbecue one day. The next evening, we had a lovely dinner with wine and just relaxing and chillaxing. Call it chillaxing, because you're chilling and you're relaxing at the same time. And you're meeting women who are high achievers. You're meeting startup owners who are high achievers, but who can play as well. Who can play sports, who can play a game against you. There's a bit of competition in it, but there's a little bit of fun, healthy fun. So I think those 2 things are what I'm learning. Staying the course, believing more in yourself, believing in what you're doing, learning from other people. Secret sources, my goodness, there were a lot of snippets, a lot of secret ideas just being given. If you're gonna scale, this is how you do it. This is what you want to do. This is your positioning. I learned a lot of strategic positioning from those meetings, what to do and what not to do. Some people have been there and they've done certain things wrong. And I don't need to walk the 15-year journey of their wrong move to learn how not to do it. So we learned a lot about what not to do and how to position yourself right for the right people to notice you and for the right people to listen to you. And when you're there, know your ask. Don't be dribbling, don't be fluffing around and thinking, I just came to meet you, I just came to talk to you. No, after meeting them, be straight on. I would love for you to be my sponsor. I would love for you to invest in my venture. I would love for you to introduce me to your circle. Know your ask when you're in the right space and when you're with the right people. And move into the right spaces, attend events. They've talked about attending a lot of events. One of the girls said she went to New York. She started from Queen's University, idea, a health or well-being startup. And she decided to go to New York because she knew at that event there were going to be a lot of angel investors. There were going to be a lot of VC representative as well. And while in that space, many people notice that somebody's talking to somebody about her, somebody's talking to another person. Have you heard this girl? Have you listened to her? And that was how she was able to break through, develop the product, and now 2 universities, sporting teams in the US have taken up the product.
Wow.
So there are too many lessons, one too many, that I've learned from these networking events and these kind of gatherings that would live with me for the rest of my life, and I'll be able to hand over to the next generation and people coming behind.
Absolutely. I think learning never stops. And like you said, you keep passing this on to the next generation, make sure everyone keeps learning and growing. You've obviously, had a journey of learning and growth through your accelerator programs, through life experiences, things like that. Even your finance journey, from bootstrapping to now, seeking for external finance and things like that has been great. But now what next? What are you looking, in the coming future in terms of finance? And do you have a plan? Do you feel like, okay, this is how I want to approach external finance in the coming years? And how do you sort of draw that plan out? Because it can be scary, especially when you never know what's going to happen next.
Yes.
So, what is the due diligence behind planning, especially for finance, because it's so important?
Right. I think first is mental conditioning. You've got to believe that you've got what it takes. It took me a while to come to that point that somebody externally would want to finance what I'm doing when I haven't. So it's a mental thing. You've got to be in that mental space of saying, you know what, I've got something great going on here. I am bringing something fantastic and life-changing to the market. And this is grand. So you have to believe in that and condition yourself and say somebody will believe in it. That's the first stage. The second stage is spread your tentacles wide and build your deck, your pitch deck. They help me at Raise Ventures in building a right pitch deck, being beautiful, seeing that it details all the things that need to be there, informing of your traction, your go-to-market strategy, your forecast on how many products how many people or how many organizations need to buy the product for you to be able to scale and make a bit of some profit to get to the next level and break out and go to other places, other countries. So all of these things are important, and we've been on that journey. We've done the pitch deck, we're sending it out to different people, different organizations, fantastic stuff. And now the next level for us, as I said, is all these places we have applied to, the Innovate UK, NI project, the British Business Bank via Enterprise NI, we're hopeful to get that. There are a few other funding places in the UK that we're hopeful to apply to. Innovate UK, the General Innovate UK. And there is one for female founders as well. We're hopeful to make an application. There is one that is open now that we're applying for, is the big one that gives up to £350,000, I believe. So we're hopeful to get these fundings. And once we do, and angel investing, we're open to angel investing. And we're considering crowdfunding as much as VC investment. There are 2 or 3 VCs that said after our MVP, they would love to speak to us. So they're on the back burner. We want to talk to them. We want to get as many grants and support from government initiatives because we know this will change the course of healthcare. The first year, we know that we can save the NHS up to £50 million just by using Adexa Labz, by saving the number of staff that will be in the lab, the number of errors that will happen, and there are non-monetary values that we're bringing as well. How do you quantify saving at least 2,000-3,000 lives every year from complications and fatalities? You can't quantify that with money.
Absolutely.
If the NHS is paying out 2.3 billion annually just for litigation and settling out of court, what if we slice at least 20% out of that? That is like £400 million.
Wow.
So we are onto something great here, that we can actually save the health service a lot of money. We can pump that money back into health and social care where it's mostly needed. And we can actually ease the process. A lot of doctors are under stress. The number of doctors and healthcare professionals that are suicidal and off work for stress is mind-blowing. It's staggering. You see the numbers and you think, I think it says like every month, at least one doctor takes their lives. At least. And that's minus the ones that are on antidepressants because of the long hours they have to work and the amount of energy they have to put into their work. It's not just time, it's intellectual strength they have to put in that time, and they can't afford to make errors. A lot of scientists are being sanctioned for the errors they make because of stress as well. What if artificial intelligence helps them? What if our system helps them in communicating in real time? So that that burden is taken off of them. So that nobody needs to sit on the phone for 5 hours every day. Let's reduce it from 5-6 hours to 1 hour every day on the phone. Let's reduce from 300 datics in an average hospital every year to no datics. Absolutely. Or minimum 10 datics a year from 300. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
We can do it. And we know that our system that we're building at Adexa Labz can do it. And this is exactly what we're on about.
Wow. It's, truly remarkable that we don't even understand the value of doctors, even, just the fact that they are here to save our lives, but what about their own lives? And the fact that, you're able to save a chunk of their time is crazy remarkable.
Yes.
Nikki, really, thank you for contributing to society like that. But obviously it's been great, and you obviously had such a huge impact in doctors' lives, in patients' lives, and basically everyone's lives.
Biomedical scientists too, laboratories professionals.
Everybody. That's been crazy. But even in terms of like Adexa Labz, right? Obviously finance has had a big impact.
Yes.
And I would love to know, what are some like big achievements that finance has brought into Adexa Labz? Obviously your MVP is a big thing, but what else has finance been able to achieve? Like, what are some things you want to brag about and be like, yes, I've been able to do that?
Our patent applications, as I said, it's been bootstrapping, but the patent applications and getting responses back from the UK Patent Office, being able to file the international patent holding, so that in the EU and international in the US and North America, they can hold that on for us for a season until we're able to go into those markets to file. That is phenomenal. And having one of our patent applications being published at the end of last year in December, that for me was very encouraging. It was very heartwarming. It was very pleasing. It was very delightful, I've got to say, knowing that there is something in there that we're doing. And other big companies in the world, our competitors, that for me, not just validates, but it puts me spinning and takes me to cloud 9 as a person. Myself and my co-founder were Christmas was really great for us because the publication came a week or two before Christmas. Wow. And seeing that our invention is coming into the market and will come into the market and will be protected is what I can use words to explain. There was a stamp of approval and saying, yes, we're doing something. Yeah. We're not just doing something, we're doing something fantastic. We're not just doing something fantastic, we're doing something awe-inspiring. And once it fully comes to the market, there'll be so many young girls. For me as a STEM ambassador, I was a STEM ambassador for years, going into schools, and it would encourage a lot of girls and say, it's possible.
Yeah.
I want to inspire a lot of young girls, especially from my kind of background, African background. It's possible. That you can be a scientist and you can make a difference. Not just a difference, but a massive difference. You can lead something that will revolutionize. You can change the lives of people in your own way. And I don't want to use the word little, but you can do it in your own great way.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be little.
Absolutely.
So that has been it for me. And being able to get more finance, access to finance, will change everything. Will take us to that next level. And once we fully develop our MVP and trial it out in at least 4 different hospitals and 4 different labs, and with many GPs coming on board with us, it will spin things to a higher level. It would make more VCs, more investors who are already saying, we want to see how this AI thing will work in your MVP.
Yeah.
We want to see how it will work. We want to see how it could change our lives. Then we will come on board.
And I have no doubt that you'll get there so quickly because, you've already been doing great work and people are recognizing that, no doubt. But I'm sure, as much as you've had your moments of cloud 9 and it's been amazing, I'm sure you probably also had moments of low, of rock bottom, of, times when you've been like, I don't know what to do anymore. What were those moments like? And, what were some challenges that you had to face? And more importantly, how did you, get up the next day and be like, yes, I will fight this? And, I'm sure you have fought those challenges. What did that look like?
I believe that one of the first was when we applied for one of the grants and didn't get it. And it wasn't because our idea was not great or wasn't innovative or groundbreaking. It was because they believed that other companies deserved the funding better. And that was pretty demoralizing. I wouldn't lie about it. And it got me to put things on the back burner. So teamwork, having a good team behind you who believe in you, having the discovery phase and the research validating the idea. I think this was some of the moments that got me back on board and flying again. You know, when people believe in you, you can't do anything in isolation. I think it's very important to recognize the position and the place of people. You can't do anything significant without people.
I'm glad you touched on that because, you know, as you said, at the end of the day, you need people around you. You need people to fall back on and be like, lift my shoulder. I need this. And, you know, I think the power of networking is obviously something that, you know, we always discuss about, and it's so important.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about, you know, what kind of impact networks have had in your life? You know, you touched upon Awaken Hub, meeting, you know, representatives from British Business Bank, Steve from EMEEN. Like, you know, what have these connections meant to you and why have they been so important in your professional journey?
As I mentioned, you can't do anything significant in this world without the right people. It's not just people, but the right people. And if you're going to have a product that is needed by the general populace, you need people to buy into it. You can't do it alone. So the earlier one recognizes that, the better. So once I knew that, and I knew that I just needed the right people around me, I started looking for the avenues for that. I go on LinkedIn. It's important to use the social network platforms like LinkedIn, the professional ones. I went on LinkedIn and I started looking for the organization that supports people of ethnic minority backgrounds, and that's how I found EMEEN. And I found people within my own space who are of ethnic minority background who were doing great things. And I thought, I want to follow these people. I started following them online, seeing what they were doing, seeing they were doing something great. I looked for female founders and entrepreneurial networks as well. I joined. I look out for their event. The reason another where everything kind of turned around, it was the European Entrepreneurs Startup Network started by a guy called Adam in Dublin, and he was the one that had the evening for drinks. So it's important as a founder, as an entrepreneur, you go for events. Don't stay just in your house with your idea in your head and think you're gonna get it out there. You need to connect to people. So that evening I was just like, I've been in the house all the time, writing up, researching, doing this. I need to start going out. So I went out for drinks evening, just in Belfast City Centre. It was one of the European startup events evening. So I went there, met a lot of people. What do you do? That was how I connected with the Raise Ventures people. So I connected with them. I connected with other entrepreneurs, other founders. Last month, I believe, Google had an event in Dublin as well for startup owners. It was a podcast evening, and it was to meet other startup founders and entrepreneurs and VCs and investors. I was right there meeting a lot of other people. So it sharpens your ideas. It sharpens your memory and your thinking. It's important. There is a verse of the Bible I love. It says, iron sharpens iron. If iron is always around wood, one is going to get cut. But if iron is around iron, iron will sharpen iron. Be in the right spaces. Meetups, there are many meetup events. On Eventbrite, I've been to many events as well from Eventbrite, meetup events. The European Startup Network, I'm a part of it. Then there's the Women in Ireland network as well on WhatsApp. I belong to that. There are the UK Startup Founders that I belong to as well. There's EMEEN that I belong to. There's EMEET, Entrepreneurs, Ethnic Minority in Tech group. We have many events. I try to attend as many as possible, not overclogging my own space and my own time, but as many as relevant and as many I can attend. One, to meet other people who are on the journey, to get encouragement, to give a word of support to those who are just starting out, and to get that kind of word of support from others as well. To learn what people are doing right and what people are doing wrong, to hear what other people have to say, to connect just as a social animal that we all are, and to have some fun times, games and whatever that needs to be had, to have drinks and nibbles and food as needed. It goes without saying. And of course, to meet bigger minds, to meet what investors are looking for.
Absolutely.
What are VCs looking for? Who are the kind of people they want to connect with? It's not just the idea. People invest in people.
Yeah. Well, Nikki, I loved how you said channel in your social animal. I think that is so important, whether you're an introvert or extrovert.
Yeah.
If you're in to start a business, you really got to channel in that social animal and go out there, because again, investors invest in you and as much as they invest in your business. And obviously it's been so great listening to your journey throughout. And now I'm really curious to know, what is your advice for aspiring entrepreneurs, or people who are even maybe considering starting a business? What advice would you like to impart for anybody?
That's a wide question to answer because it's big,
Yeah.
The first thing I'll say is believe in yourself. People invest in people. They don't invest in ideas out of the blue. And from the British Isles, I think that a lot of times we have a bigger imposter syndrome compared to, say, people from America who are of the can-do-it attitude. And we need to imbibe a bit of that can-do attitude. I believe that we don't think we are so good. We don't think we're measure up enough. We don't think our ideas are great enough. But if you look at history, down history lane, you realize that some of the greatest ideas that have come into our world today and we're using today came from these isles. The DNA fingerprinting, for example, started from the British Isles. Things like the open heart surgery started from the British Isles. Think of things, even the discovery of the DNA itself came from the British Isles. There's so many great ideas that started from these isles, and we need to believe in ourselves and that what we have can go to the rest of the world and they will buy it. I believe that's something we need to deal with. It's not only Americans that have it all. It's not only Canadians or Australians. We have a lot to give the world, and we have to believe in that. Secondly, we've got to validate our ideas so that we're not living in cuckoo land as well. It's great to believe in yourself. There's over-exaggeration of one's importance, but then there's diminishing one's importance as well. Don't be in either space. Be in the middle. Ensure as much as possible you validate your ideas with research, with knowledge, with reading, with asking questions from people who are like you, who are not like you, people from your space, people not from your space. So you are in a place of reality and not in the vacuous place, That's two. And third, I'll talk about the power of networking. I would say it as well. Another verse that works for me, it says, he that wants friends must make himself friendly. So it doesn't matter whether you are an introvert, you're an extrovert, you belong to this community, you belong to that community. You've got to know that you need friends, you need people out there. It's somebody that will remember you, it's somebody that will talk about you. So network as much as possible. If you're introverted, don't just sit behind your computer. Pick your phone and talk to people. Don't just message on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn. Go out for social events. They won't bite. They might look at you a bit like, you think, maybe I don't look right. Maybe I don't dress right. Just get out there. There's somebody that likes you just the way you are.
Absolutely.
Go out for drinks. Go out for meals with people. Go out for walks. Go out for hikes. Do anything. Just be out there.
Yeah.
Show your face. Let somebody recognize you. Let somebody know you. The power of networking can never be overemphasized. That's saying that if you want to meet anyone in the world, there are only 3 people between you. So you just need to connect with one person, and the next person will connect with the second person for you, and the third person you're getting there. So if I wanted to meet Michelle Obama now, there are 3 people between us. Maybe I need to get on. I need to get onto it.
Wow.
So
I would love to meet Michelle Obama.
Me too. 2 of us now.
Yeah.
So you just have to get out there, network with the right people, put yourself within the right circles.
Yeah.
It's so easy to be despondent. It's so easy when people talk about how depressed the economy is, the weather, the this. If you listen to that all the time, you will be depressed. And nobody wants to hang around a depressed person. Nobody wants to invest into a depressed person. Go into the right circles where there's positivity, where there's energy, where there is encouragement, where there is support, where there is critical thinking, where people can ask you the right questions, where you feel safe, where you can receive constructive criticism. Don't be in a place where they're just praising you and singing your praises all the time. Be in a place where someone can actually call you into a corner and say, is this real?
True.
Are you for real? Are you sure? Prove this. You want people that can ask you and speak the truth to you in love.
Yeah.
You want people that can question you, but do it in a kind way, in a supportive way, in a way that you're growing up. You don't want to be where they're just saying everything is great, then you go to the market and everybody thinks you're crazy. You know, it's a thin line between
You
between
should
that.
be open to honest feedback.
Honest feedback and criticism.
Absolutely. Really well said, Nikki. And, you know, thank you so much for being part of this podcast. And it's just been like a whole hour of learnings, and just to hear from you, hear your journey has been really, really great. I think some of my biggest takeaways have been that, you know, AI doesn't compete.
No.
You know, you rather use it and you
complement.
You work with it. And, you know, it's about discovery. You know, you got to keep applying, you got to keep being at it, and, you know, it's possible, and you really need to have a can-do attitude.
That's right.
I think that is so big and so overrated. Like, you know, you just got to keep at it, and, you know, chillaxing is important as well.
Yeah,
you know,
very much
sometimes
so.
you just got to chillax a little bit, and, you know, be straight. Believe in what you're going for, believe in what you're asking for. And I think one of my favorite was iron sharpens iron.
That's right.
You really got to, you know, leverage on the power of network and surround yourselves with people. And basically just imbibe a can-do attitude.
That's right.
And I think that is so important. And again, it's been an absolute honor. Thank you so much, Nikki.
The honor is mine, and thank you so much for taking out the time and asking this very deep and elaborate questions, because it's made me think, it's made me, you know, be on my feet and be able to answer on my feet.
We've all got learnings to take away from today.
That's right. Learn,
Thank you.
unlearn, and relearn. So it's a journey of a lifetime.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome.
Where can entrepreneurs go to for further information about accessing finance for their business?
So we know that understanding the many types of finance solutions that are out there can be challenging, and compared to even a decade ago, there are now so many alternative finance providers, from invoice finance specialists, crowdfunding and platform lenders. So I'd encourage any entrepreneur to go onto our finance hub. It offers up so much helpful information and guidance to help businesses find the support that they need. We recently launched our Making Business Finance Work For You guide, and you can find that in the hub, and it's designed to help businesses make an informed choice about accessing the right type of finance for their business. Or perhaps they're wanting to get under the bonnet and know more about a particular type of finance, for example, asset finance or angel investment, or maybe they want to understand more about the role that non-executive directors can play, or what is a business accelerator. There's so much information on the hub, so I would encourage everybody to have a look.
Can you tell us a bit more about startup loans?
Sure. Recognising that it can be challenging to get funding to help fuel your startup, the bank introduced the Startup Loans programme back in 2012, and these are government-backed personal loans for business purposes. So entrepreneurs can borrow from £500 right up to £25,000 with a fixed interest rate of 6%, and up to 4 partners in the business can each avail of these loans. So the loan is one part, but they also come with pre- and post-loan support. So helping you prepare to make your application, and then on receipt of a loan, the startups can also avail of 12 months of mentoring, access to our Learning with Startup loans in partnership with Open University, and lots of other online support. Since launching the programme, over £1 billion of startup loans have supported over 100,000 entrepreneurs right across the UK, and with 40% of those going to female founders, and actually 20% going to entrepreneurs from ethnic minority backgrounds. So the bank works with a network of business support partners right across the UK to deliver startup loans, and it's their business advisors who provide that critical support to applicants, so helping them prepare their business plans and their cash flow forecasts. And our partner here in Northern Ireland is Enterprise Northern Ireland, and you can visit the Startup Loans website to find out some more information.
These podcasts have been endorsed by Inclusive Entrepreneurship Northern Ireland. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. Inclusive Entrepreneurship Northern Ireland was a group that was formed following a report published by the bank in 2020. The report was called Alone Together, Entrepreneurship and Diversity in the UK, and it was really looking at the effects that ethnicity, economic background, gender and place have on entrepreneurial opportunities and outcomes. IENI, as I call it, itself is made up of a diverse group of individuals and organisations who are all really passionate about helping to improve and shape our support ecosystem, and in doing so helping to create a more inclusive and diverse community. We all meet regularly and we work together from building our collective knowledge of best practices and sharing resources to encourage and help others through our Inclusive Entrepreneurship NI page, LinkedIn page. So right through to building a series of Intro to Finance webinars where we did a lot of jargon busting with lots of wonderful guest speakers, and they're actually sitting on the Inclusive Entrepreneurship NI's YouTube page. So it's really wonderful to collaborate with everyone in driving really impactful initiatives through Inclusive Entrepreneurship NI, and we're just very proud to be collaborating with EMEEN on these podcasts.